Hi, it's Jeff Greenberg, and welcome back to Star Wipes, where we go and dig through the most interesting posts on our editors part of Reddit. And with me is my dear friend, Michael Kamas. Hello, Michael. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Jeff. What's new?
It is the first week of August. I think it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since we've recorded. We both have had busy lives. There's a lot going on. Hey, Reddit's still here, man. Reddit's still here.
Good job. I know single-handedly you kept it afloat. So I appreciate you not playing ball in the house. I appreciate you not breaking anything while I was gone.
I love all the mirth on that, of course, but what I'm really referring to is that there is still the protest going on, and there's still some subreddits that are out. And the two real walkaways that I think are the pain points are one, we get it. Reddit doesn't hear their users, neither does Facebook, neither does Twitter. God, does Twitter not hear their users? Um, But the real pain point there is partially around moderation tools. It's partially around moderation tools for people who are blind. I was just on a group call, and I can't say much more than that, but literally, I made it a point to call out the people going, it's a little embarrassing that you even did any of this API garbage without your tools, your house being in order. And I think, they're right at a certain level. Reddit's behemoth is big enough that it'll it'll just pass. It's put an unsavory taste in a lot of people's mouths. But Reddit's done that before. So
Mhm. It's evident they're planning on getting by without listening to the I don't want to say silent majority, but they're obviously not going to be listening to enough of the users, and they're just going to move forward like a bull in a china shop and see what the valuation is, and see if it still makes money or
I
will make money. Pardon me.
it's going to make money. It's going to get an IPO. The question is, whether or not people who invest find it valuable enough. All right. I think we've beat that horse along those way. This is the Great Frame Robbery. This is episode 5 of Star Wipes. We're going to basically, I'm just doing a quick recap. We do 2 items from our mega threads. It's Ask Anything or Career. We do 2 short form items where Michael and I just comment a little bit, and then we're going to pick apart long forms and talk about a dopamine hit, something cool we've found since we've seen you last. Mr. Kamas, anything you want to add about that rundown, or should we just get started?
Michael Like, rundown good.
First item up. I'm just going to clear one item off my screen. Here we go. Ask a Pro Weekly from this week. SAG in the bag says, I work remotely, and recently we've brought on other remote editors. We use Premiere, and I was wondering, do you have any recommendations for server setup and services? We've only just started looking into this. I've looked into SNS and Evo briefly. Currently, if I have to jump onto another session, they haven't updated the files. I can't continue the edit. Also, they only have, and Michael, this is the pain point, buddy. They only have 100 megabit download. So this slows us down. We're looking for the streamlined remote editing solution. Are they doing it all wrong? Is it just me?
They're doing it mostly wrong. I mean, there's a couple different ways to go about this. There's setting up a server at your facility and then serving up the media in real time that people connect to, right? The old Adobe Anywhere paradigm, right? The product that no longer exists. And there's a couple companies that have picked up the reins and do that, but that's very, very expensive. And it's based on asset management. And that it's just a big paycheck, or it's a big dollar sign. The other route is to do it all in the cloud, right? So you're remoting into cloud workstations, but that's also not cheap. So I think what they're trying to do with the SNS is say, look, I want people to mount the SNS as storage and edit from it directly, and latency will not permit that. No, almost no matter where you are, even if you're in the same town, latency to shared storage is the killer. So there was a comment in here where it says Premiere isn't good at sharing projects. Resident Mechanic 4980, that's wrong.
Oh,
Premiere. Go,
let's be
go ahead.
gentle. Let's be gentle. I don't
Okay.
believe in let's wrong.
Okay.
Hey, it hasn't been their experience. You and I bring a little different experience to the table. I actually commented in here as like, look, if you want to do what you're doing right now, Lucid Link's the way to go.
Hmm.
Your editors just can mount their Lucid Link storage and edit. And I would use, Adobe Teams if you're going to do truly that sort of cloud based. The other method that is really well accepted is you're going to use Jump Desktop or Parsec and just remote into that hardware, but you're going to need a computer that runs it. And then the third method that seems to work really well is some level of cloud storage, Dropbox, Adobe's tool with proxies, but somebody
Hmm.
still has to finish in that remote spot. And those three work really well. And in fact, thank you, Rachel. We do it here for this. We use Adobe. We should use Teams, but we don't. Anything you want to
I
add? You go ahead, please.
Yeah, I use Teams for 5 things. I have a remote editor, and I'm sharing tens of gigabytes. I don't think we're at 100 yet. It was 70 gigabytes for the last episode, and that's all Teams projects, and that works fantastically. I have one hiccup I'm not a fan of, and that's if you don't make any changes, but you hit a keyboard button wrong. There's no way to revert and have the other and publish
Mm-hmm.
no changes. That's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a hiccup. Actually, the product manager reached out to me from Adobe and said, I'd like to understand what you're running into. So maybe that'll get fixed at some point. But Teams is great when you have two editors or multiple editors who are not using the same storage at the same time, but need to share cuts and the same media. It works very well as long as you've read the READMEs and follow the directions.
If only the remes were easily published and out there. So yeah, Premiere totally works. Multiple editors, multiple locations, and it's just a multiplier of which workflow makes the most financial sense.
Oh,
But
oh, oh, oh.
yeah,
And I did an episode of 5 Things about a year ago, which is how to edit remotely with Premiere Pro. And I went over Teams and productions and cloud editing and cloud storage. So, hi, Rachel. Maybe Rachel can drop that in, or Jeff, you can drop that into the links on the podcast so folks can see that as well.
absolutely. All right, let's do the next item in this Ask Anything career thread. We have here. I was just watching the editing podcast with Hayden Hiller Smith and Jordan Orm about why professional editors won't work on YouTube. I know that this podcast and likely this episode has been discussed here before, and I'm pretty sure it has. I think they had an interesting section about discussion of rates, what's being required of an editor. $100 a day rates, equivalent work, $500 a day rates. I think Hayden's a fantastic editor personally, and the level of work he puts into his YouTube work exhausts me just looking at it. It requires that much level of editing attention and stamina. So to me, that's more expensive work because it's more demanding. I would charge a lot more to cut a Mr. Who's the Boss or Logan Paul or Mr. Beast video than say something like this episode. So with YouTube creators as a consideration, what would be a good rate to edit this calmer, multicam, talking head, low graphics, less frenetic, interview style of content these days? This is just what? Syncing, B-roll, color grading, sound sweetening, dead air, and ums and ahs suites, and general tightening? What is consistent content like that worth these days? Also, can we keep this conversation to non-studio, non-union, non-higher end expectations? This would be more for the freelance contractor.
I'm greatly anticipating your feedback. I have a few comments about that last sentence, but go ahead.
I think all rates are essentially, and this is the painful part about them, simple. How many hours will it take you to do? What you feel your time is worth, and whether the person opposite side of the table values you for that. And if it's a YouTube channel where you've got to go and you need to find the assets, it's just a bottomless well of asset time versus somebody giving you all the pieces there. That's why I think, every person trying to do editorial work cheaply wants to do a flat rate. Everybody who, I'm going to say, values themselves professionally at some level not trying to crack into the industry, not trying to work for free, not trying to work cheap, just goes, I need this much an hour, or I bring a skill set that demands this much an hour. The joke always, Michael, was, somebody's got a problem with your plumbing, you call the plumber takes out the, $5 mallet, hits the water heater 3 times and everything works. And you give them, you get a bill for $300. You go, wait, I can go buy that rubber mallet down at Lowe's for $5. You go, yeah, it's $5 for the rubber mallet and it's $295 to know how to hit the water heater. I think that's what talent, post, and editing is about, is not when everything is easy and handed to you. It's when you have to work, and it's a day rate.
To throw it back to another analogy that I don't use as much anymore, but it used to be Picasso, right? A man approaches Picasso in a cafe and says, will you draw a picture for me? And Picasso spends 30 seconds drawing a picture and give it to him and says, that'll be, $300. And he says, $300, that took you 30 seconds. He goes, yeah, it took me 30 seconds to draw it, but it took me 45 years to draw it in 30 seconds. And I think that's
little known fact, Picasso used to do doodles and stuff and pay for checks at like restaurants that way. Is the anecdotal story I've heard.
Be so well known to do that.
I don't think he was super well known at the time, or I don't think, because he died, by the way, pretty close to a pauper, as I recall. And, just it's only his successes after his death. But that idea that you would go, oh, yeah, I'm Will Smith and I'm not going to pay for this. I'll sign this and you can sell it on eBay,
I think you would call that some chutzpah. Would that be the
chutzpah? Yeah, absolutely.
Chutzpah?
Yeah, it's got much more phlegmy. The real question here, though, that Saki Nuso, I think it is, that they're asking is basically, hey, I'm trying to come up with a rate, and the professionals here are going, buddy, you should have a day rate. It's not about the difficulty of the work. It's about how you value yourself, your skill, and your time. And if the person on the other side of the table doesn't look at you as a valued partner, then you're just a commodity. And in some ways, my plumber is a commodity. I need to know that it's going to work. I need it to be reliable, and I need to know I'm not going to have to do huge house repairs afterwards. Same generalized concept. So I think this is, this was just a really nice little thread for people to look at, especially if you're going, what should I set my rates at?
And we should also remind folks that you have a dedicated wiki on that, correct?
There is a dedicated wiki that pretty much says, what's your time length? How many hours will it take? My favorite thing to ask the YouTubers who are going, oh, I want to hire somebody. I go, well, you know how much time it takes you to do it. You literally you've made the sausage before. You've built the house of cards. It takes me 10 hours to build the house of cards. It's going to take somebody else, maybe less than 10 hours, but about the same amount of time it takes you. It doesn't make a difference how efficient they are. It's going to take them ballparkish, maybe 20% less. If they're really, really good, maybe 50% less. Who cares? The idea is you're getting it off your plate onto somebody else's so you can live a life.
And a new voice.
And a new voice.
I think that's right there, is you're getting out of your head and letting someone else look at it and add their own flavor. So the editor becomes not just a contributor, but another narrative voice. And it's not just you in a vacuum.
100%. Okay, let's move us over to short form items. Short form number 1. Do you like it when the production team acknowledges you? And this is tagged with humor from No Tamanegi. Pretty much what it says in the title. I work a lot of corporate social content, and every now and again I hear either the talent or the camera crew acknowledge the editor, either by trying 2 different versions of a take and letting me decide what works best, or an apology for an annoying background noise I'll have to work around. I also do a lot of work with regular clients, and sometimes they'll mention me by name to other people in the production, or sometimes ask me random questions. As editors, it's easy to feel fully detached from the production. I always love it when they acknowledge my presence, even when they don't know who I am. Do you?
I do completely. In fact, again, not to keep plugging, but last
Rachel?
episode of Five Things in the first video or the first take was, "Hey, this I got camera audio here, camera audio here. If you see me reach down, it's because it's my remote. You know, there. This is how I'm going to approach this. I'll do a couple different. So I do that quite a bit, and I think it fosters a better relationship than just making it transactional.
Um, there's a real famous. I couldn't find it. Maybe we'll look for it on YouTube. Sally Menke is thanked, or there's a whole series of a montage of people thanking Sally, who is Quentin Tarantino's editor, who passed. I'm gonna say like about 7, 8 years ago. We had her actually at the editors retreat. I got to meet her and spend some time with her. Phenomenal. But just that idea that people are during a take sort of winking at the camera and saying thanks, Sally, for picking their best take, their best performance along those lines. Yeah, everybody likes being acknowledged, especially when you're in post, especially when you're off set. But I would even say if you're on set. The only problem I ever see with it, Michael, is when the talent, corporate propaganda sort of stuff doesn't really understand the limitations of editorial and just cutting in the middle of a phrase and rephrasing it doesn't always make the easiest cut.
No, no, and I there are some times that we call out Rachel, "Hi, Rachel," and we'd love that stuff to stay in because everyone should know how awesome Rachel is. And too often, editors are resigned to a credit if they even get a credit on some YouTube stuff. So I hope we leave it in because this podcast is for people in post, people who are editors, and I see nothing wrong with in this realm being able to call out our friends and colleagues who are a part of this. So you're doing a great job,
100%.
Rachel.
Thank you so much. I think that brings us to our next short form item. Frame.io is terrible. And this is 6 days ago from Legal Knowledge 4368. First of all, their support is shockingly bad. I just spent 2 hours explaining my problem and he still didn't understand. Anyway, the issue I'm having is to send a review link to a client. They make comments. But when we replied to their comments, they received two email notifications. One that just has the comment, and they can click on, and then another one that has the comment and also a view asset button. When they click on the latter, they obviously can't access it because they're not a team member, just a reviewer. My question is, why on earth are they receiving notification to view an asset that they'll not actually be able to access since they're not a team member? This frustrates the client, makes us look bad. Support has zero to help to offer except to say, we'll pass this on to tech, etc., etc. Like seriously, this shocking bad UX. Am I the only one dealing with this? Anyone using Frame.io for clients had this issue or found a workaround? And Michael, while we're not doing the super in-depth version, I got to tell you, the very first item from Nisiful Flash something says you should try Vimeo, then you'll realize how much better Frame is. There was this phenomenal thread about just how frustrated people are with Vimeo.
Well, and I need to set this on the offset. If you look at my shirt,
Oh yeah, look at that. Hold
I
on, hold
work
on. Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
Shift Media, and Shift Media makes a product called Media Silo, which has a handful of features in common with Frame. So, I'll be answering this in the most delicate way possible. First of all, Vimeo completely changed their business model. They're no longer B2C; they're B2B. So, the emoji in this of laughing and crying, it probably isn't the way to go. I appreciate the fact that you can upload higher res files and mezzanine codecs, which is great. Frame, in my opinion, is very good at one thing, and that's the review and approve. And they do that one thing really well. We at Shift have decided that we're not just a one-trick pony. We want to do more than that. So we've branched out from that. But what we find quite a bit is that there are these edge cases, these corporate clients who, will get 100 users, 200 users, and they say, we need XYZ features. And if you don't have those, we'll move on to someone else. And the reason I bring that up is the legal knowledge may be encountering something that was requested at some level by a very large client. It was then if we want to retain this client, we have to have this in. Now, I'm not commenting on the logic of what Legal Now is running into, but often sometimes odd features are because on some corporate level there needs to be some accountability, and we won't re-sign unless you have some of these features in there. I can't comment specifically about this, but often when you see odd features, it's because it's from a high-paying client that says we need this.
My biggest instinct is that there's a tick box somewhere wrong that's sending the client the asset. And realistically, somebody's got to spend an hour, 2 hours of their lives digging into Adobe/Frame settings to throw the switch so it goes, only send this once. But I could be wrong. I do think, even though this is short form, there are two really nice parts of this thread. One is Boiling JD, who always has got great stuff to say, says, it's funny how Frame.io went from this marvelous tech achievement and industry standard to something everybody is shitting on now, yet not much has actually changed about the product itself. And then, our favorite Bob Zellin says, hi, are you really surprised? Avid sucks, Final Cut sucks, Premiere sucks, Resolve sucks. Refusal to suffer to learn these products like Frame and all the ins and outs has these people react like this. All products that are flexible or difficult to learn require patience and suffering. It's always been like this. Most people today are just simply unwilling to suffer. They want to get on social media and complain. Why can't it be easy? I could spend hours writing why all these programs suck, why all remote programs suck, but I'm willing to suffer and learn what it is to make work. I think there's a gentler way about that, but that's not what Bob's known for. I think he just said, read the manual. Is that what he just said?
Our TFM, the phrase we use in corporate America is friction, right? It doesn't suck. There's friction. And we found, not just here at Shift, because I'm not speaking for Shift in this capacity, but that the more features you add and the more options, the more friction, because it requires the user to say, this is the behavior I want, this is not the behavior I want. And it's always split down the aisle. I want this by default. I don't want this by default. So the more features give more friction, which can lead to people saying it doesn't work for what I need. And to some extent, Bob is right. The more complicated a product gets, the more you really have to learn it. It's not, AI isn't going to do everything for us. We still need to learn the tools. And if you don't learn the tools, then AI will take your job.
The real interesting item here from Postmark in the middle of it is he tries to actually sit back and solve the problem. And I think he mentions a good workaround and no complaints about what to do. And his thing is, the client added as a collaborator, or are you just creating a review link? I've done it both ways as a sender, but I've never been on the receiving of a review link only. So I'm not sure what the experience is like. This is where the solution likely is. And it's about a half-hour work with 2 email accounts or 2 people sitting next to each other in an office, one of them off their personal email, just trying something to see if it works. So, I hope they come back and update the thread with the final answer. But I don't think Frame is terrible. I think Frame suffers from the same thing everything else does to a degree. Popularity yields more people using the tool and more people frustrated as they are those edge cases. Although from the way this description is, this is just doesn't make sense. So I hope Legal Knowledge, you've worked it out. Anything you want to add here, sir?
No, I'd like to stay employed. No. I'm completely joking. I don't have any kind of muzzle or gag order, but no, I think I've said just about everything that's relevant.
What's the meaning of this?
So that brings us to our next part here, which is long form, back and forth about 2 deep topics. And we're going to start with this, which, by the way, is a Bob Zellin. AI, whether you like it or not, Jobs Netflix and the Netflix jobs. A Fox News story. Netflix faces backlash from actors' writer strike after posting a job that pays up to $900K turn stomach. From the Netflix job description, the overall market range for the area of roles in this Netflix gig is typically $300,000 to $900,000. If only I was this smart. And by the way, Michael, this is specifically a job that's machine learning. I'll do this. I'll load the actual link to the job itself here. It's a product manager for the machine learning platform. And Bob very much is right. Maybe I did learn the wrong stuff in life to not do it. This doesn't have anything to do with editing. I know why Bob posted it. I would be very curious what time of day, and if it was Friday. And this is an incendiary post to, as the writer strike goes on and the industry suffers, as good unions should have those people suffer. If you're unhappy with the content, maybe, the CEOs of these groups shouldn't get $250 million. He's posted basically this incendiary item going, oh, your jobs are going away, and here's the guy who's going to have your job because he does machine learning.
Correlation in this case does not equal causation. And hiring someone for machine learning that is most likely going to be used for finding your suggestions on what to watch next and recommend you these genres and stuff. This is most likely what a majority of this is surrounding. It's not, well, this person making $300,000 to $900,000 is working on virtual avatars to replace actors. As much as I am firmly in supporting the unions and the guilds who are striking, this is not where the pitchfork should be going. This is something that's only tangentially related. I don't think we should be upset that a job that is needed for all the other reasons I mentioned, someone can make this money. It's like getting mad at baseball players for making the money they make. No, if someone's willing to pay it, you're totally worth it. Just like as an editor, if you can get someone to pay you the high end of your hourly rate, you're worth it.
Well, high-end editors, the people who are working on blockbuster films, who are supporting several assistant editors, a project, an office to do all this editing, they get at least $500,000 to $1 million for those sort of gigs, at least. And rightly so. You look at one of the Marvel films, Thor: The Dark World, had real problems, and they brought in Dan Lebenthal, who cut the first Iron Man, cut the first Spider-Man, cut Elf. They brought him in to fix up and change the film, and the scores went up. Does that mean box office worth? I can't answer that. Of course it did, to a degree. But this idea that there are specialized roles and not every role is specialized, there's a lot of not Dan Lebenthals out there who do phenomenal work and just haven't hit the right cards to put them in that position. Let's take a look at some of the thread here. I applied, sure, says SNES salesman. Sure, hope they love my example proposal where AI can easily replace all upper-level management and executive roles. They can save millions. Gotta tell you, I love that. Mike, Mickey Mouse, Bush it. This has nothing to do with editors, actors, or writers. This is Netflix platform, which has been using machine learning for years. Absolutely
Spot
true.
on. I'm going to upvote that right now because I don't think I did that prior.
You can see all my upvotes in there. Speaking of which, thank you. Post should be taken down. It's my fault the post is there. Bob made it, but I'm the one who said, sure. Why not throw into a little... And this got quite a bit of traction. This has got some 47 or so comments. Hey, I don't show this enough to you, Michael. I'm just going to... that prior one, the frame suck, I think it was seen by about 27,000 people. Let's take a look at this one.
You've got reach, Jeff.
I don't know if we've got reach. This one's only been seen by 11,000. Only 11,000 people have viewed this, and we don't get a huge amount of the breakdown, but there you go. Interesting that the first 48 hours is when a lot of it was seen. That's part of Reddit's, algorithm along those lines about how things rise up to the top.
After we go through this, I have something completely unrelated in this thread I wanted to bring up.
Sure. Crypto in here says it's actually pretty cool tech. I saw a documentary about a few weeks back. I think they're calling it Streamberry. Tingo Media. The actual compensation range being a difference of $500,000 is being the craziest part to me. Hey, Michael, could you imagine? Oh, yeah. We said it's 300,000 to 900, but, we're willing to give you $301,000. Yeah, you're worth 300,000, but not 350, not 325, not 310, 400. How are we going to promote you? How are we going to give you cost of living increases if we're already paying you top of that scale?
MBO bonuses, monetary bonuses based on goal setting, and there's something minus crypto. I'll call out the Easter egg. That's Black Mirror. So it's pretty cool tech. I saw a documentary about it a few weeks back. I think they're calling it Streamberry. If you haven't seen the last season of Black Mirror, you should.
I struggle with Black Mirror because it is the modern Twilight Zone that would keep me awake more at night, and I'm already not sleeping great.
You remember one of the taglines for Max Headroom? It was 20 minutes into the future. That was
I don't
one of
remember
the
that,
taglines,
but I
and
remember
that
the
Black Mirror to me feels like that's basically what this is, 20 minutes in the future.
Max Headroom, not the television show, but the original piece. Matt Frewer, it was called a Blipvert. It was an advertisement that happened in under a second, and unfortunately, it caused some people's heads to explode.
I wonder if there's a Reddit handle, Blipvert. That would be a good handle.
Or Max Headroom, for that matter. Let's look at a couple more items here. This job looks like it has more to do with machine learning for the Netflix algorithm. I guess I wouldn't want a job as editor for the content for the GUI of Netflix there. Emotional Dare says the job description is incomprehensible, almost like it was written by AI. Let's take a look.
No, I'm sorry. No, it makes complete sense. And
no, this does. It totally does make complete sense as I look.
But if you're reading this and you understand it, it speaks to someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes AI and ML. And it's niche. It's like introducing someone to post-production and hitting them with acronyms in our sub from day one.
Yeah, the whole idea of having to sit back and go through the NDI tech, down to routers. Parts of it is understandable, parts of it's not. Hey, Neo Toronto, I'm 100% on the actor side of the fight and writers, but this role is actually something that would replace actors? No, nor writers. Netflix's biggest asset has always been their recommendation algorithms. Did you like this and this? You might like these. I could see the head of that department being $1 million role just because it's so essential to what Netflix does. Still, and I think this is the good truth moment, Michael, it's bad timing and tacky to promote such a huge salary when the talent that makes it is picketing.
What's more important, making money or the optics? I mean, let's just be straight on it. That's what the point is that, well, it's bad optics to have this in this climate. Yeah, but if you're willing to pay someone almost $1 million, which and you'd expect them to help bring in tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, I think the optics of a job post fall to the wayside very quickly, unfortunately.
I don't disagree. I do think at the $500,000 to $1 million, 900,000, you would think that it would rely on more word of mouth than just beyond just that the job is available.
There could also be legal ramifications, right? We have to post this before we promote internally. There's all sorts of reasons that jobs get posted when there's not really a expectation of having that be a draw for a candidate.
100%. 100%.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is Smushcan, who posts all the time fantastic content. And Smushcan says, at this point, I'm starting to learn just to ignore any article that describes the tech exclusively as artificial intelligence, rather than the more technical names like machine learning or LLM or even AGI, right? Generative AI. And I responded with, for decades now, I've held the tech torch of saying, let's call it the right thing, right? Remote editing and editing remotely are two different things. But several years ago, we got 4K, right? And those who are tech nerds and like rasters understand that true 4K is not marketing 4K, right? But we've lost that battle, right? There's no sense in trying to educate respectfully consumers to say, well, you shouldn't put 4K on that box. You should put UHD. And so they put 4K UHD, right, as just a way to compromise. So I've actually stopped doing that's machine learning, that's AI, that's AGI, because at this point it doesn't make a difference with how the public perceives it. So Jeff, if you and I are having a discussion, I'll most likely be very careful about how I choose it, so you and I can speak intelligently about something. But if I'm going to a seminar or a webinar and talking to folks, I'm using AI, because there's really not, if you want to learn more about it, you'll learn that difference and understand that this is just shorthand to get to the point.
100%. I all the time will, 4K is such a great example. I'll go, well, that's not truly 4K, but the technical correct, it's not, because there's nothing over 4,000. But we're going to move on and not let it devolve into that. If you're in this talk for this, we don't need to get that fine about where we go, versus when it's a technical conversation and we need to talk about that minor 17:9 versus 16:9 difference when it comes to encoding or display or anything along those lines. Yeah, I find that we're using this tech-all umbrella of, tech-all. I think maybe I'll use that more often.
There's a domain for you.
Of
Tech-all.ai.
AI. Yeah,
Buy it.
tech-all. Yeah. The AI ones are expensive now. Yeah, Smooshcan does phenomenal comment, and I think this is going to be part of this difficulty. And maybe, we'll have to put that job description into ChatGPT so it can give us a summary to help us understand, which is always a fun use of it. Anything more you want to say about this one before we move on, my friend?
I don't know if you can do this with Reddit, but we all know that you can program a bot with Reddit, right? Like, you didn't include this information, you didn't include this information. There's got to be some API integration out there where you can put in a question and it will automatically reach out to a ChatGPT model and attempt to answer it. I think that would be interesting, just as a test to see. Okay, yes, hand raised. Jeff?
Yeah. So one, Reddit pretty much shut down their API at any real scalable level
That's
on
right.
purpose.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
And then as a real frightening realization, and like this is a real meta moment. The value of Reddit is somewhat Shmushcans and AV gurus coming back and commenting on people's threads. There's a real bot problem at Reddit's level, whether it's being scraped or using the API at whatever level, of right now ChatGPT pushing in content. And Reddit and everywhere else doesn't have an easy way to go, oh, that's ChatGPT. And I literally this week, yesterday, had somebody, huge blocks of text, and when you read them, you go, oh, that's ChatGPT. And there are other posts, and all their posts are all artistic posts. And I kind of wanted to go, what are the odds of this being Stable Diffusion or one of the other DALL-E items? And then as I'm looking through their history, I'm going, it's 100%. And somebody called them out in the thread going, oh, that's a ChatGPT. And the person's like, this couldn't be written by a human? I think in the world where we're coming to Reddit for content and conversation, the ChatGPTs, unless they're labeled and clearly, hey, I'm a ChatGPT bot trying to answer your question to provide value. Writing prompts, which is a favorite subreddit. If you want to do something creative, you find a prompt in there and you just write a story based on it. They're deluged by groups trying to run ChatGPT and go, oh, it's my story. So yes,
that's a good point. I rescinded that suggestion.
I think like Wikipedia, I think ChatGPT plus Wikipedia, hey, you're writing about this. I think these three things might be relevant, but man, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly, my friend. Anything else on this?
I still dig you, Smushcan.
Okay, I do too. Just phenomenal content, phenomenal contributor. Evil Daystar, there are a couple of them who do work, and I wish there was an easy way to recognize them. On that note, speaking about recognizing and who you know, Is it really about who you know? And this is about 15 hours old right now. This is from Jewelry Box. I love the spelling there. I've been running in the film and video industry for over a decade, chasing the ideal job, and I feel like I'm not succeeding in getting a steady job. My first job was my last decent full time job, and it was an automotive ad agency. Got laid off right before COVID, have been freelancing here and there, editing promos ever since, and now I feel like a failure. Had some connections, but they never follow through. I even post my professional page as a photographer or videographer for personal events and nothing. I applied a lot of industry jobs, including day jobs, and I get a lot of rejections with no explanations of their decisions. So is it really who you know that'll get you the job nowadays or always have been? What am I doing wrong? Before we dig into this, because my thoughts right now are the number one voted item on this thread. What are your thoughts on it, sir?
So is it really who you know that'll get you a job nowadays? No, it's always been like that. And I don't want to be a mean about it, but it's always been about who you know, because you make friends with people, usually who you respect and you like hearing their opinions. And if they're going to recommend something, you know it carries weight versus someone who applied to a job posting in a paper or online or on Mandy or any of the other. Is Mandy still around? Or any
Mandy's
other
still
job?
around.
Mandy's still around. I would augment this to say it's who you know, and it's also, have you made yourself known where people will seek you out? And that's a whole different conversation whatsoever with personal marketing. But if you're not putting yourself out there, and I don't mean pasting a link to your URL, but engaging with people, working on projects that you can then promote. If you aren't out there putting yourself out there to find, so people can find you easily, then it's definitely going to be based on who you know.
I think that's a huge part of it. I just want to deconstruct because I this morning saw this and my heart went out and I said, hey, wait a second, let's take apart what this person is saying. I first said there are two separate things here. You know, the job search and your personal identity. Your sense of self should have nothing to do with your job. Your sense of who you are just isn't, you're not your job, man. It's that Fight Club thing. You're not these products. Although there is the added stressor, which I completely understand. It's why I wrote such a response here. There's stress over money coming in. I feel like a failure if I judge my success based on what's my bank account looks like. And that's a scary, scary item. But, you know, it almost sounds like this person's a little on the passive side where they're going, you know, I had some connections, but they never follow through. I post my professional page for personal events and nothing. I apply to a lot and they never explain their decisions. And my deeper version of this is finding work right now is about people who trust you. You've worked at an ad agency where you're by yourself. Talk to all of them, not about getting work. Ask them what's going on in their lives. How are they doing? That's what networking is. If you're going to use your job finding success as your gauge to self, which you shouldn't, at very least, networking is marketing your services. It's zero effort for a group to offer a job. You just put up a web page and you say, hey, upload the PDF. And you'll get 200 or 500, and who knows what the opposite side of that's like. Toss out all the ones that didn't follow the instructions of a cover sheet. That's the first thing you can do. You give them a set of instructions, like how to post on the subreddit. And if they don't follow, you just can throw those right into the trash. Right after that, you look through those and you go, okay, now we're down to 50. Okay, we've got to throw out any that aren't local because it's a local job. And now we're down to just 25. And then we're going to toss out a bunch where you just don't think they spelled right. You know, spelling counts. I know we don't think it does. I know we don't want it to be. I know lol and bro and bruh. Grammarly exists. All you got to do is say, hey, if bruh is in any of these or bro is in any of these messages, throw that out. And your colleague recommends someone, sure, you'll pick a couple people that look amazing from that stack of 15 or 20 that are left, but 100% recommended person, that person who worked with your buddy, I'm going to at least meet or virtually talk to that person because they're at the front of that line. So it is who you know along those lines. You use your alumni network, even if it's your high school alumni network, because you didn't go to college for this stuff. LinkedIn, religious groups, whatever. Maybe it sucks. maybe it pays off a year from now. But I think, you know, not to sound too serious about this, Michael, but nobody is raining down jobs to strangers. Nobody.
No, and especially as you spend more time in this industry, you end up developing a network of people who you will call and say, "I'm looking for someone. Who do you recommend?" So, you know, the people who are going out and putting these ads out there either aren't familiar with the industry as much, or they're fulfilling a obligation, a business obligation that they have to. I can't agree with you more, Jeff. I'll share something that crystallized my career, the goal 15 years ago. And this isn't for everyone. And I've told the story before, but I was at the HPA Tech Retreat. And there's a legend in our industry, Leon Silverman. Leon Silverman revolutionized Disney. He was at Disney for years, and he was also head of the HPA for years. And he's a great sociable guy, and he's out doing crowd work. You know, he's during the HPA Tech Retreat, several hundred people, close to 1,000. He's out there saying, "How'd you enjoy this session today? How'd you enjoy this? How'd you enjoy that?" And someone made a joke offhandedly. And he pulled the microphone away from his mouth as he laughed, and he said, "I haven't needed a resume since 1977." And okay, that's a while ago. But what that crystallized for me is in the work world, in the professional world, what this poster is running into is that they're being lumped in with everyone else who's putting in a resume, and there's no way to stand out. And it dawned on me that if I could remove that stress for my professional life and never need a resume, I would have a job at almost every step of the way. And thus far, it's turned out that way. It's when I need a position or it's time for a change, I can reach out and, "Oh, we've seen your stuff. Great, let's talk." So that goes to the second point I brought up earlier, which is if you aren't networking, you have to put yourself out there with what you do so folks end up finding you. They look for things that you're already doing. And that's the second part of the equation, at least in my estimation.
I think you're dead on. And I think, you know, just to further that, Bob Zellen, who I was a little, you know, on the prior post, has the best answer here. Not just do a summary. You go to a dentist, you like your dentist. You go to an accountant, you like your accountant. If your accountant goes to a new practice, do you follow them or do you stay with the old practice? Same with plumbers, electricians, doctors, lawyers. You build up a reputation. You have a client following. None of it's government work. It's who you know and how you conduct yourself. Your only job in a successful career is to make friends, get your colleagues, clients to love you and your services. I mean, that's, and he, to some degree, you know, I struggle a little bit with the tone of sometimes his posts, but he's like, he just did a new install. He got introduced to a new client, and it's not about if he's an introvert. He knows he got the best type of introduction, a direct introduction from his prior client to a possibility of a new client. It's his job to call them and go, "Hi, I'm Bob. These are my services. If you're easy, you know, if it makes sense." And he has got a great sign off here that I want to call up. Life ain't easy, just like dating is not easy. You'll get rejected too. Never give up. And I'm just like, that's such a positive message at the end, you know?
It is, and we understand. I understand that right now the market is flooded with people, not only because of Fiverr and Upwork and those sources, but also because of the strikes and the consolidation of the industry, et cetera. We know that this is one of the toughest places right now to get a job and make a living wage. We're not downplaying that. I'm not downplaying that. But I also want to give you the best recommendations to try and rise above that and not and give you some suggestions that aren't just going to say, "Yeah, life sucks, have a stiff upper lip," because it unfortunately you do need to have that right now. But we're not downplaying how difficult this is. I don't think Jeff and I talk about this much, but he and I are always hustling for side gigs and side work because we never know when something may happen.
Absolutely. And you know, it's sometimes it's fun to keep contacts out there and hear what other people are doing, because it makes you more excited about what you're doing, side hustle or primary hustle. It's irrelevant. It's, you know, these sort of careers are not phone it in careers. You know, there's no, I show up and I leave at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes it's late. Sometimes, I'm going to take a Monday and goof around. Uh, but generally speaking, it's because we want to do these things. We want to work like this. Couple nice spots in here. G to the E, a few things to add, and I'm going to just summarize these a little. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've never met an editor, or I'll even say anybody else, that is talented enough to overcome being a jerk or lousy to work with. Building a network of people that respect your skills and trust means sometimes taking risks. There's clearly a fine line between reaching out to your contacts and annoying people. That's that thing you and I always say. It's like, talk to that person. Don't say, do you know of any work for me? It's less about who you know and more about the relationships, which I think is what Bob was really leaning into. So many gigs fall through. It's important to realize you'll have many jobs that come up that never happen, or friends that say, my company could probably use an editor, that go nowhere. Don't worry, it's all part of building a career. And I love Tiki Thunder here, who turns and says, I've never met an editor that is talented enough to overcome being a jerk. Man, ain't that the truth? As a side note, be nice to everyone. We always hear the stories of that A-lister who remembers somebody's name, an assistant, and just has that sort of long-term empathy, trust along the lines. It's just absolutely amazing. The two items here that have come in since I looked at this thread last, I want to just call attention to them. Caterpillar 4Q. For 12 years, I worked from paycheck to mouth as a freelancer, and I know the feeling of not knowing when the next gig is coming. I was fortunate enough to get hired full-time from a company I've been working freelance for years. I don't know what skills you have in your box, but diversify your range. Try to get experience with formats like news, dockies, reality, puke, but generally lots of work. Learn to shoot, not even look into drone work. The more tools, the better. And the one right below it, Lachero. When I read your question, I was stunned. I've been doing professional for just over 30 years. You basically wrote my job history and stuck your name on it, except for the fact I've worked for several post houses and, yes, even an automotive ad agency. The last years, I've applied for hundreds of jobs. I've applied through them, with them. It's a lot of who you know, but a lot of who knows you. Right now, it's tough. I got a client I work for almost full-time. The commute is 145 miles round trip. It's the lowest rate I've ever taken, but at the moment, he's the only one I can find work with. He's not even paying half of my buddy rate. Don't let it stop you. Michael, I took a job once that had a 3-hour commute just to say, check mark, I've done that job. Might have been a professor at an Ivy League university. Okay. Now I can say, no, I don't. I didn't go to an Ivy League school, but I've been a professor at one. And that was worth it for me. The low amount of rate, the high amount of commute time, just so I could say that one sentence. I think the biggest thing here for jewelry boxes, I hope they stick with it. And I hope they network well, and Reddit and particular Discord are some ways to do it, but they're linked in their existing network of people who know them. Is the best place. Anything you want to add here, my friend?
Putting yourself out there, one of the first big breaks I ever got, and I squandered it. I'll just preface it with that. It's not a happy ending. Was I was very active on a forum that had a lot of professionals. And when I say professionals, I mean big name professionals who worked in LA and Hollywood and New York. And it was through engagement on that forum that this person reached out and said, I see you're eager. I see you're interested. Do you want to come out and mix a film? And that was one of the stepping stones of my career. And that was because I was, without knowing it, putting myself out there at that point to network, even if it was virtual, right? Because there was no in person. We lived across the country from one another. So there is a way to do this if you are willing to put in the time and engagement. And I know there's backlash of, well, I shouldn't have to put forth extra. I should be paid 9 to 5. That's fine. And I get where that comes from. Fair is fair, but human nature is also going to play a role in hiring someone that looks like they're going to do it better or more.
100%. 100%. The one thing I've tried to do, and I don't know that we've ever hit it when we did the editor's retreat, was the idea of, hey, I have an unfocused approach to this. I've always killed for somebody who would go, here's a laundry list. Here is your minimum. Each day you should do one of these, in the same way that I can talk to you about going to the gym, the same way that I can talk to you about learning. I always wanted somebody to come in and go, hey, for your visibility, if you're not working on a 90-day plus committed gig, you should be one time a week posting on LinkedIn, one time a week posting on Twitter, and just rinse and repeat. And it's the foundation that everything else is built on. I've never seen anybody produce a really good laundry list for how to have a virtualized presence to help remind people you exist.
It's not, unfortunately, it's not academic, right?
I know.
If you have a workout plan or a diet or, that is something that you can measure and then adjust, but that's a little bit more linear, I think, than a creative industry, which is going to change depending on what time of the season it is and strikes. Strikes aren't going to affect how you lift weights. Unless all of Gold's Gym goes on strike. I don't know. But
No, but my rebuttal to that is like, yeah, that's fine. But here's a certain minimum. I can tell you, if you have no time at all, here are 5 exercises to at least keep your joints mobile. And here's a minimum amount of physical activity that you should do, not 10,000 steps, but if you do like the American College of Sports Medicine goes like, this is the minimum amount. And it might just be a down week of marketing and pushing myself out there. Hey, just tell me some days I just want to do the least amount because I'm not passionate, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed. It doesn't matter. I think that the more we, that Steve Jobs thing or Einstein, like, I just have black shirts and jeans, so I don't have to think about this. I kind of feel I'd love for somebody to go, hey, this is what I think is the minimum of what you should do in social to keep people's awareness. And, because if I get up in the morning and I have an alarm that goes, post something stupid on LinkedIn, I'll post something stupid on LinkedIn. Maybe I've got to build. Maybe we should ask Zach Arnold do something
like that.
Zach 1,000% would have. In fact, I'm going to write it down. Reach out to Zach. Because I would love to hear his thoughts, and maybe. Not maybe. We always know he'd be a great addition to this Reddit to Star Wipes. I think with that, we should get to our dopamine hit.
Find me a dead cat.
So dopamine hit, more or less, something cool that's right now in our consciousness. And I'm going to start with this here. This. No, not that. Oh,
although that is important.
That's important too. Here it is. Right? Nobody's perfect, including me. Personal tool to avoid the end credit chaos and end credits in hours instead of days. This one is from 21 Atlas, end credits. Before I show you more about this, there's Endcrawl, which is out there and has been people love with a capital L. There's one that popped up on editors, I want to say 2 weeks ago, called Cinecred, which I believe is free and open source. And then this one from 21 Atlas is called End Credits. I think all 3 of them are attacking the same problem. You got to get logos in there. You got to get people's names. You got to build all this. If you're a filmmaker, you don't want to have to learn and be super great at After Effects to put and credit all the people who worked on your film. And these tools do it for you easier. Yes, sir.
Why is that so difficult? I mean, what usually do people ignore or forget to do that makes doing rolling credits so difficult?
It's an old interlace problem. It's Jutter. It's by the way, the easiest way to do it is to divide it into title cards and just fade up and fade down title cards. Right. And somebody, I think on video editing last week, said, I want mine to look like, the most recent Thor or Guardians film. I'm like, you mean the one where they've got the scrolling and they have all the actors doing stuff in the sides? I didn't comment, but I wanted to go, do you realize that probably was like a month of people professionally planning, storyboarding what the credits would look like? Do you have any clue about how much this person was looking for a template that they could put in? Okay.
Right.
I'm off my soapbox there. The biggest struggle about vertically moving items is refresh rates. And the magic trick that Trish Myers, I think it was,
I
from
haven't
After
heard
Effects.
Trish's name in quite a while.
Trish Myers, for those of you who think Andrew Kramer is the beginning and starting of your After Effects knowledge, you need to go find out who Trish Myers is. Trish and Chris. Basically speaking, if things are scrolling upwards and the refresh rate doesn't match right, you get a weird sort of juddering that occurs. And the magic trick is things should move vertically based on the frame rate at pixels per second. In After Effects, you roll down something and it shows you the exact pixels per second things move, generally 2 to 3 times that rate. So that's 48 frames. It's usually 30 frame work. So it's 60, it's 90, it's 120. It's not terrifically difficult unless you're like in Media Composer and you don't have those sort of choices of speed. And what you do is you cut it to a piece of music and you shave off a couple frames or lengthen a couple frames, and suddenly the shutter isn't bad enough that the client complains anymore. That's it. These are all great tools. If you have a budget, I would definitely look at End Credits, this new tool, because for the month of August, it's free for anybody from our editors. But I would also look at the Cinecred, and I would, of course, look at Endcrawl, who set the name of the game of going, we just want to take away all the pain for you. So that's my dopamine hit, my friend. Any thoughts on it before we go to yours?
I love it. I love options. The competition breeds innovation. I think I'm misquoting it, but I like it. The more players are out there that are doing it, the more the price comes down and new features are developed. So I love it.
I love it as well. Speaking of things that I love here, and you've gotten 2 call outs on Reddit for it, is 5 things. AI in post-production, your questions answered. I just want to know, like, is that underneath your skin, that metal eyeball thing? Is it a mask?
You know, I only have X amount of hours in a day. So by incorporating AI, and I'm just going to say AI, not ML, by incorporating AI into myself, I now am part cyborg, and it helps me accomplish more in 24 hours than I ever thought I could. For a dopamine hit, it is my latest 5 things episode, AI in post-production. Back in June, I posted on multiple social media platforms saying, what questions do you want to hear? Because AI is mentioned every damn day. And is it just, here are new tools? Or what are the ethics behind this? Is it plagiarism? How do we?
I'm going to say the 5 things. I'm going to say the 5 things. Here they are.
Oh, do it.
Okay.
Do.
So current AI tools at the time that was published, adapting to AI evolution is number 2. 3 is ethics in AI usage. Number 4 is the societal implications, right before, of course, Skynet happens, and AI evolution and impact. And we're going to stop there because the concept of a dopamine hit is you go and you check these things out yourself. And so if you've never looked at 5thingsseries.com, you should go look. There's a lot of great content there. Just out of curiosity, before we do our wrap, what is the video right now prior to this AI one that has your highest watch rate? Do you know? Is it about
I did an
MAMS?
episode a couple years ago called "The Truth About Video Editing in Hollywood," and I covered where Media Composer, Final Cut 10 at the time, Premiere Pro, Resolve, Edius, Vegas, where all of those sat in kind of the pecking order as it pertained to Hollywood and feature film and television. And I gave it in all transparency, I gave it kind of a clickbaity title, "The Truth About," because I just wanted to see how it would perform. And I got comments from all around the world about it. And that was very good. Even though my camera focus is off in the video, if you take a look, you'll see I'm a little bit fuzzy. That by far got the most amount of views.
I would tell you, just low-hanging fruit. Maybe it's worth an update. That's going to bring us to our closing moments here. So let's do the by the numbers. Michael, where can we find you? Do you have anything interesting going on?
Next week, I'll be in Brazil, the Expo in Brazil. That's media and technology. That's the 8th through the 10th, August 8th through 10th. And then in September, I will be traveling across the pond to IBC. So I'll be there with Shift Media.
Your first IBC?
First IBC, yes.
You're going to have a blast. I will give you some of my favorite tips a little bit later. I think IBC in Amsterdam is fun. I was in a running about 3 different items to go this year, and my major one fell through, unfortunately. And such is the nature of things. We're speaking at a conference that you now, because you're going to IBC, are bowing out of. So we'll probably talk about that closer to September. I'm going to cover, of course, we've started a little bit more aggressively, and I'll get more aggressive just putting it on the sidebar. And like, we have a post-professional Discord. It's the official Discord of our editors. And what I probably should do here is just take a second and bring it up live. We'll see how good or bad I am at this stuff, my friend, to see if I can pull this off. So let's see if I do that. And then I say here in this fine technology, let's see if I can remember how the fine technology works.
What's interesting about Discord is that now I belong to a lot of Discords, and when you get a message, there's a notification, but some of the channels I don't want to get notified for. So it becomes this hunt and peck game of what Discord channel is giving me that notification, and then tracking down which channel it is.
What do you find is the biggest struggle for you with Discord? And then I'll tell you what mine is. Hopefully I'll have gotten this up. Yeah, it's you go ahead.
No, there are so many, and forgive me, I don't know the parlance, but are they sub channels?
There are different servers and different sub channels in each server.
It's the different sub channels. So you may be on one that says, here's get help, here's new features, here's feature requests. And it's just trying to keep up with all of them can be challenging the more you add.
Here, now that I've finally got it working, here is, if I didn't screw it up, here is our Discord. This is Post Professionals, with its server guide up here, what limited rules we have. And there are a couple things that have happened. We got about 400 or so people hanging out here. And the biggest struggle with this or any other social community is checking in on it on a regular basis. And I'll bring this back up because it's just a frightening list. Look at that list on the left side. These are all the different Discord servers I belong to because I needed to check in on something. I needed to get a little piece of tech support. I'm trying to show interest. It's the new draw, and it's very decentralized as far as content, and it's messy. I don't have anything more good or bad beyond. I don't see it as a replacement for our editors, but a complement, and a real-time complement at that. We're trying to do more with it, including maybe we're going to try and figure out how to do this live through that and through YouTube. So there's a little bit more interaction. And those are the big pieces. So I think that brings us to a wrap, unless there's something you want to add in.
We good.
Okay. Well, my name's Jeff Greenberg. That was Michael Kamas, AV Guru 1. I'm Greenies Mac, and you've been watching Star Wipes. This is episode 5, and we're calling it internally The Great Frame Robbery. And hope you use it, share it with other people, because they should know about your Reddit obsession the way we're on Reddit as our dopamine daily hit. Thanks for watching.